What up? What up? Daniel with the rant here. And I got a couple thoughts on my mind, couple things I've been seeing online today. Florida Gators put out a statement, Scott Strickland, stating that they're going to be keeping Billy Napier on as the head coach at the Florida Gators, with the Florida Gators. And um, a lot of noise about Caleb Williams. A lot of noise about how people are saying, Jaden Daniels was a better pick, and the Bears are going to be going through this cycle of, getting this top draft pick, expecting him to be the savior, firing their coach because it's not working, so on and so forth. I got a couple thoughts. Now I just want to chat about it. So there was a video I watched online. This guy, Mike with the phone, something like that. I'm gonna put his description down below. Was talking about Caleb Williams, and he was talking about how some Bears fans are kind of already feeling like they made a mistake. Talking about the body language from DJ Moore. I have seen some pretty interesting body language from DJ Moore this season that's been somewhat alarming. You don't want to see that when you are trying to build something. I do think that the Bears coaching staff is going to need to change. Just from the outside looking in, reading body language, thinking about the kind of players these guys look like and how the kind of energy they give off in their press conferences and the things that they say in their interviews, things that reflect the kind of energy that they're bringing into the program, what they are bringing to that culture. I think the Bears have some of the best pieces when it comes to playing this game, offense and defense. The coaching is going to need to change because they need to understand their personnel from top to bottom. They need to understand who is who, why you're who you are, who am I in this program, on this team. As a head coach, am I the head coach that understands that my quarterback is projection of being an icon, being the savior? Am I cool with that? Or do I keep this whipping boy energy so he understands that I'm the coach, though? And I do think the coaching staff will have to change because they need to understand who is at the helm. I think it's going to be hard for Caleb Williams to succeed the way he can unless he gets the right coaching because so much is expected of him outright. Number one pick, plus on top of that, he came in talking about he chasing Tom Brady. But the reason I need everybody to pump the brakes, the reason I need microphone to pump the brakes, the game is moving fast for him. He is still a rookie, and so much is expected. Everybody expects him to just make great plays already because he can throw the ball off schedule. He could throw it like Patrick Mahomes. He can make a great pass here and there. For him to slow down the game, they're going to need to do some more situational work in practice. They need a coach who can set the tone, but a coach who can also understand how to get out the way. And I think Caleb Williams really will probably do well working with Rome more than with DJ Moore. It's kind of interesting how even though DJ Moore is this great receiver, sometimes him having been there already and gone through so much there, that can affect your expectations for what you want to start seeing happen, especially when you see this great team being built around you. But before that, they got rid of who seemed like it was your dog with Justin Fields. He had really somewhat good energy in some of the interviews about Justin Fields. He doesn't seem like the most outspoken guy, for certain, DJ Moore, but he would speak about Justin Fields a lot of times like, I'm going to protect him, but I like him. Him and Justin Fields probably could have gotten on page and started to build something really great, but it matters so much who you have around you. It matters. I don't care what your craft is. You could be a rapper, a musician. You can be a student. In high school, college, your teachers matter as it pertains to your development. What they bring into that classroom, if they prepared or not, that all matters. And I think Caleb Williams would probably do really well to start working with Rome. They just need to figure out how to get open. They look like they're out there just running plays. They look like they're out there just lining their pieces up and trying to overdose on certain pieces in certain games. I don't think they're actually targeting the other team's weaknesses. You have some really great pieces, so knowing where you want to line guys up and why you want to line them up where you're lining them up makes sense. Plus, the trade deadline just passed. They could have made a move. They could have honestly traded one of their pieces to get something that would probably support them a bit more, like another running back. I think when they get into this next draft, one of these backs, Ollie Gordon, Genty, I think they could use another running back. I think this offense would really benefit from being able to run the ball. Swift is a great player, but he's only one back. Having that other go-to back that gets you hard-earned yards and keeps your offense moving can slow the game down. If Caleb Williams keep getting caught in 3rd and 8 and 3rd and 13, he's not going to look that good. But Microphone was comparing Caleb Williams to Jaden Daniels. Here's something that really caught my attention. Jaden Daniels is balling, yes, but Jaden Daniels is working in a system that fits him. The coaches understand that. He understands that. Caleb Williams has thrown 9 touchdowns, 5 interceptions thus far, 61%. Jaden Daniels is at 71% with 9 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. All right, that's really good for Jaden Daniels. And that's better than average for Caleb Williams. C- for Caleb Williams. He's not playing terrible. And Caleb has been playing in dysfunction for the past few years. So he, too, is a player that has some dysfunction to his game that can be special, but he needs a coach. He needs surroundings who understand who he wants to be, what his skill sets really can buy you. I think he needs to be able to sit back in that pocket a lot more. Yeah, he needs to get rid of it, but he wants to be able to sit back in that pocket a lot more, almost like what Russell Wilson was when he got into the league. Caleb, I think, can absolutely be special. Unfortunately, he's coming into the toughest part of his schedule now. The road is going to get a lot tougher now. But part of my argument is the fact that he has time to actually get his game, his flow, his mojo, his juices going. He has time. And 9 touchdowns and 5 interceptions isn't that off from what Jaden Daniels has done. Yes, it's 3 more interceptions. I understand that. But he's a rookie, man. Patrick Mahomes didn't have to start as soon as he got into the league. He was playing behind Alex Smith. Lamar Jackson didn't have to start when he got into the league. He was playing behind Joe Flacco. Aaron Rodgers, he did not have to start when he first got into the league. He sat behind Brett Favre for like 2-3 seasons. Jordan Love. And even that year where Jordan Love popped off and everybody started jizzing all over Jordan Love's stats, he was struggling at the beginning of that season. He became a surprise at the end of the season. I just find it really hard when I'm listening to people sometimes and they're so ready to write off rookies. It's disgusting to me sometimes. I'm like, yo, I get it. I know that's a harsh word, but like, what? Bro, it's the long game. These guys are investments, man. You don't just put money in the market just to take it right out. You got to do your homework before you put your money in and get ready to ride it out through some tough times. So it just bothers me when I hear people talk like they're so unsure of Caleb Williams. They go to comparing him to Justin Fields. Caleb Williams' stats are better than Justin Fields' stats. And Justin Fields has been in the league a lot longer than Caleb Williams. Don't tell me nothing about the pieces. I don't want to hear nothing about the pieces. Justin Fields has been in the league a lot longer. I think Caleb Williams has a higher ceiling than a lot of people give him credit for. And I think it's challenging for a lot of his teammates, too. That's why I think a new coach needs to come in there, because there needs to be a new culture setter. The coach is going to have to be the one that's got the authority. You just also need a coach that's comfortable with Caleb Williams' swagger enough to let him have it, enough to not step all over it with minuscule things, trying to push him back down and make sure he knows that you're the boss. Part of what makes me even say that is some of the interviews some of his teammates were having, because they would see his swagger and how much he kind of can just be in his own skin. That Jalen Johnson specifically was calling it Hollywood and kind of saying that Caleb Williams needs to humble himself.
Like you just humble yourself coming in the building. I feel like it's one of those things where it's like you can't, like you said, you can't bring that Hollywood stuff into the building, especially now with guys who play this game. I feel like at a high level for consecutive years in the league. When it's like, nah, that what you did in college, the Hollywood, it's like, nah, that you got to prove yourself. That stuff like that doesn't matter. But I feel like
that was, before really got things going, but as you can see, they don't have things going, and guys have some really bad mojo on that squad right now. You saw what the corner did against the Washington Redskins. That don't help. But Caleb Williams, even though the Redskins could have and should have won that game just by how they played that game, Caleb Williams' team could have won that game. So, yeah, I think he needs a new coach who can start bringing in some better philosophy into that program, into the culture there, so that the Bears just need to make the right choice when they bring in the coach. Whoever that next person is, it can't be some run-of-the-mill coach. Who the hell is Matt? What did he do? Why does he have this position of power to work with this young man? Sometimes it's just based on timing. Sometimes it's just based on the fact that I just happen to be here already, and then he just happened to show up next. But just like Caitlin Clark came into the WNBA and her coach got fired, I was watching them. There was a lot of moments where I could see the coach wasn't helping the team win. Everybody's just watching Caitlin Clark, but the coach needs to be able to see moments where she can jump in and say, okay, you know what? We need to swap. We need to sub Aaliyah out right now and try to beat this team on the perimeter. Okay, you know what? We need to go into the post. We need to work through Aaliyah right now. And then that will probably start getting the defense to come down on her, and then boom, she can kick the Caitlin on the okay, boom. That's how we'll get the offense flowing. But I think on the Chicago Bears, they're congested with talent, and they don't know what to do with all the sweets and treats they got. They don't know how to make it all work well together. It's a buffet of talent on that roster, and they don't know how to use it. Call me crazy, but I think personally, if I'm the GM of that team, I'm trading DJ Moore for either a draft pick or I'm trading him for pieces, a lineman, a running back. Because I got Rome, I got Keenan Allen. I can always get another receiver in the draft in the first, second, third, fourth round. They're going to be fire because he can use some experience. I don't even think DJ Moore has the patience to usher in Caleb's energy. But I think Caleb and Rome can really get to finding a groove like Aaron Rodgers and Devontae did. Caleb and Rome need to go to Aaron Rodgers and Devontae school. They need to find out what was working for y'all. They need to be hanging out on the weekends, talking, watching film of the Bears stuff, but also Aaron Rodgers and Devontae. Their receivers just be running routes. It looked like practice. It looked like they just doing they 7-on-7 drills. And then when they get in the game, it's all moving so much faster. That's what they look like out there. I don't know what the Washington Redskins, the Washington Commanders are doing to simulate game-like speed that's making it work for Jaden Daniels, or maybe just Jaden Daniels is processing their offense a lot better because maybe the route tree, maybe the Chicago Bears aren't using play action well enough because they're not running it consistently well enough. But I think they need a new coach, and I won't just throw out just what they need. I've been talking about this guy's name so much lately. I'm calling it. John Gruden, next season, Chicago Bears. I hope they don't wait too long. The thing is, you can't bring in the wrong coach. You cannot bring in the wrong coach. You cannot just sit there and be like, all right, we need a coach. Who's on the market? This guy just came. He was an offensive coordinator at under. No. Don't do that. It's easy to say Bill Belichick, even though I don't know that those two would mesh. If Bill Belichick went there, I think that would probably be great for both of those guys because I think Bill Belichick could show that he was the architect of the Patriots' success, having been able to duplicate it with another quarterback. I think it would be great for the Bears as well because I think Bill Belichick could absolutely be the voice of reason. He's had a year off, time off. I think he absolutely would be the loudest voice in the room. I think it would balance the egos in that organization. I think both of those coaches, John Gruden and Bill Belichick, both have the type of energy that the Chicago Bears culture needs, that hard-nosed motherfucker, that hard-nosed coach that is crafty with preparation. I think Bill Belichick will probably be the the best for long-term purposes, I think John Gruden would be great to come in and totally architect structure and success on the offensive end. There are options, but I start there tonight. That's my first place I wanted to go to because it's just, I'm seeing a lot of people. Microphone isn't the only person that talked about this. Heard Colin Cowherd. He's been talking about it, bringing it up. He's been itching to say, he sucks. Let's move on. Next year's draft class. Shedeur Sanders. Oh my. People are so irritatingly impatient. Really got to let it groove. Really got to let it happen. I do think now that the schedule is about to be tough, man. So, all this stuff I'm saying right now, I mean, yeah, absolutely. In 8 weeks, it could look a lot worse. It could look a lot worse. Peyton Manning had time. Peyton Manning had the time. It's so easy not to remember it now. You ask the right Indianapolis Colt fan and they will tell you, oh, I remember that season. Lord, I remember that season. I couldn't believe I was going to those games. Couldn't believe I kept going to those games. It would just be encouraging, I think, to see videos where people are talking about, let's be patient. There is one guy who talks to Cowherd and talks Cowherd off the ledge sometimes. I think his name is Danny something. And, that guy will talk about Caleb Williams more in the fashion of like, relax, Colin. But I just would love to see people put some respect on his journey. Got the Patriots this Sunday. I think it's a very good opportunity for him to put up at least a good 2 tutties. Would love to see him in Rome start really just finding their own connection. Let DJ catch on to what I'm doing. It's hard to get chemistry. You see how Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. sometimes just fall off the face of the earth, and then people are saying this. But when Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison are really linking up, I mean, Marvin Harrison looking amazing. Sometimes it's really just chemistry, man. And the type of egos that are in the room, it's hard. Once you got all these egos in the room, it's hard. Caleb is a young, professional, kind, considerate, hardworking, hard-nosed, wants to believe in himself young man. You need that in your quarterback. That's why I just think you need the right coach that can really see that, but help scheme, help talk philosophy. Would love for Caleb Williams to be really like talking to somebody, a sports therapist, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, with Drew Brees, asking these guys questions. Would love to hear if he is thinking like this. Would love that, because I think he's got to keep doing his homework and keep deep diving, because it's not going to be easy. You got the keys. You got the keys to this new EV, and everybody's expecting you to just be able to drive them to the promised land. And in a lot of ways, it's not fair to the number one pick. It's not fair for what the number one pick even means. The expectations that are heaped on you. There are a lot of quarterbacks in college right now who they are the ones that people are expecting to be the number one pick. And thank heavens Carson Beck isn't balling right now, because somebody would probably draft him as the number one pick just based on his past success there at Georgia. And then all of a sudden they're expecting him to bring Georgia to the NFL. This one man in one season right away. Some of these quarterbacks need time to fail, man. They just went from high school to college to the NFL. It ain't the same no more. These other coaches is out here scheming now. Straight scheming. They blitzing with regularity, bringing pressure, different kind of aggressiveness. This ain't just about where I could get recruited at. No, they brought me here for a reason. That guy who's rushing off the edge is rushing for this team off that edge for a reason. He gonna get back here. I think the right coach will start whispering the right things in Caleb's ears, and I think that team can absolutely ball. This ain't the Chicago Bears with Justin Fields in them. Justin Fields is very talented, but he not really throwing the ball like how Caleb is throwing the ball. Caleb just got to slow down so that he can complete those damn passes. He can absolutely throw better than that. He can absolutely perform better than what he is right now. And he's not far off from actually being able to make a run. He just happens to be in the toughest division in the NFC. Nobody's talking about that, okay? Literally one of the best teams in the NFL right now is in his division, okay? And then one of the second, third, or fourth best teams in the NFL right now, or fifth, is in his division in the Vikings. And then the Packers still ain't really found their mojo yet, but they got the Packers coming up 2 times in just a bit here. So, I mean, it's opportunities. Jordan Love is still dealing with injuries. It's opportunities for Caleb Williams to really ball out, mess around, beat the Packers once or twice, sneak in, try to get a little something. Vikings just looking like they might start struggling a little bit. Couple little hiccups here and there. Nobody knows, man, but he's balling. I think he can ball, excuse me. I just think, with DJ Moore there, DJ Moore got some expectations. It would have been a little crazy to try to trade him at the trade deadline. I would have did it. Not necessarily, if I did it at the trade deadline, I wouldn't necessarily try to have done it for a draft pick, unless I trade him to somewhere like, Cleveland Browns or something like that. I just want to see people just consider time, man. Consider time. We're not talking about time that much. We're not starting these conversations, and it's so hard to do that when you got Jaden Daniels just balling as hard as he is. I get it, but Jaden Daniels 9 touchdowns and 2 interceptions to Caleb Williams 9 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. Come on, dog. It ain't like he got 9 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. The man could mess around and end the season with 22 touchdowns and 13 interceptions, 10 interceptions, 8 interceptions. He gonna throw the ball sometimes and get. This is the NFL. He the number 1 pick. This team, they got pieces, but they don't got a plan. They just out there running plays on air, and they running up against defenses that are playing them more aggressively than the Bears are playing each other in practice. They play hard in 7-on-7s against each other when they were on, the HBO show, but they're in the game now against other teams that are scheming and watching their film and prepping against them differently than how the defensive coaches at the Chicago Bears can prep every week or prep his team to come at his offense. So, all right, man, that's my rant about Caleb Williams. Went a lot longer than I intended, but I get emotional when we're talking about these guys that people just want to get rid of or just think that they're in this cycle. I'm going to pivot to talk about Scott Strickland and the Florida Gators. So, okay, Scott Strickland decides they're going to keep Billy Napier. I think it totally has a lot to do with investing in your word. I think it has a lot to do with the possibility of what can happen in this time if Florida loses a player like DJ Lagway. Quarterback is an important piece when it comes to having an offense, and not just a talented quarterback, because you see how Anthony Richardson is looking in Indianapolis. He needs a little bit more time. He needs some real guidance over there, a coach that can see him for what he is and what he isn't, and try to talk him off his ledges. So I understand Scott Strickland deciding that, he's going to keep Billy Napier there. It hurts. It sucks to hear because I think there has to be the right coach. But you don't even know who that right coach is. People keep talking about Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin ain't even proved it yet. Lane Kiffin just got a name because he's one of those guys that I don't know why he got a name. I think Lane Kiffin is failing up in a lot of ways, and people are investing in his possibility. I want Lane Kiffin to be successful. Hell, I want Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss to give Georgia a spanking on Saturday. That's what I want. Georgia's defense is probably going to show up, make it hard on Ole Miss's offense, and, they can scratch out a W. But getting the right coach is not a given. It's not a given, especially in college, in the college landscape. There are over 140 schools in Division 1A. Ain't no just guaranteed Nick Sabans. And Nick Saban ain't even coaching right now as soon as NIL got into the mix because it's harder now. It's now these players who are younger than NFL players are now potentially making more money than you, not in Billy Napier's case, but also just very young, trying to balance school, maybe have a girlfriend. And now you need these players to be so invested into football. For some of them, as soon as they just got there. For some of them, they've already been struggling a little bit. For some of them, they just transferred in out of nowhere. And now you're trying to put together the program. You might have had some guys you really liked, they left. And now you're kind of stuck because you didn't expect that guy to leave. You're kind of trying to bring in new guys. You done brought in some new guy, but he don't really like the guys that are there right now. He thinks he's better than that guy that's there. He doesn't really want to implement the patience to be there with that guy that's there. So coaching right now, NIL-wise, is challenging. Nick Saban's not even doing it. So all these other coaches now who are here, all these other coaches, it's free game now. It's all time for a coach to kind of establish themselves as that guy. I think that might have something to do with Kirby Smart and like his energy right now and how he's kind of just been spazzing out on the sideline. He's been very patient with Carson Beck, you know, but he's kind of just, you can just see the toxic energy that's kind of flowing through the Georgia Bulldogs veins right now. They're trying to bite. They're trying to bite. This is the opportunity right now for one of these coaches to really establish themselves as that next dude. It's going to be difficult, though, because of NIL and how much people can just pop in and pop out. You can't lock up one of these athletes for 10 years. Actually, some of these guys are like playing in their 9th season in college. It's crazy. I'm not going to come at this video, though, right now and blame Scott Strickland. I want to. I think Scott Strickland is kind of doing the right thing, because if he lets Billy go, it's all hell could break loose, and this program could really fall into disarray. If you let Billy go, you need to already have the replacement, like right now, so these players know who the hell is coming in here. The players can't be stuck in just this purgatory of not knowing who they about to be coached by, especially when you done made bad decisions before and showed who you think could lead this program to the promised land. So that's the only way it could really work. The players would have to know, they would have to be okay with this new person that's coming in, and they could then decide that, okay, yeah, I'll stick it out with this other guy that I don't even know for reasons that, you know, that media is going to be talking about and skewing in all kinds of different directions. So he makes the decision to stay with Billy Napier. I get it. I don't like it, but I get it. The Gators are going to have the same schedule. They're just going to be playing the same schedule that they played this season. Just whatever games were home are now going to be away. So they basically got the same schedule. So just as challenging, but you can see that the Gators are competing now. It took them half their season to start competing and half their team to start competing, because they done lost by half their team through injuries. But I get the decision. So I can't really blame Scott Strickland because I get the decision. I do still blame Billy Napier because I just think he needs to be a better coach, situationally speaking. I hope this year was a real gut check for him. I hope he's getting this team really ready for next season, even though he's going to lose some of those guys. I blame the fans. I blame the fans. I blame the fans. I think that's really fucked up for me to say, but I blame the fans because, listen, but I'm talking about the Florida Gator fans who are living in Gainesville right now, the students. I blame the students. Your fault. It's your fault that the Gators are going through this right now. It's your fault that I'm feeling this way right now. It's your fault that the program isn't more successful. Why do I say that? It's simple. It's simple. Didn't you see what happened when the Texas fans started throwing drinks on the field? Bottles of water and beers? Bottles of waters and beers on the field. Bottles of waters and beer. You take one down, you pass it around, and now the refs don't return the call on the field. I had to do that. The fans could absolutely make the biggest difference right now. If the fans were rioting, if the fans said, you know what, we're not showing up at any games. Scott Strickland, Scott Strickland, do what we say. Do the will of the people. Y'all think Trump got into office by accident? The will of the people. They said, nah, man, a whole bunch of people said, that's who we want. So what do you think could happen if the people can make Trump become president, even though so many people hate Trump? What you think could happen if y'all was just like, no, we not accepting this? The students right there at the school who are paying to go into some of these games, who are giving their time. I know y'all want something fun to do too, so I understand why y'all go to these games. I'm not saying that y'all just need to do what I'm doing. I get that. But y'all are the ones eating this in the face. Y'all are the ones really taking this. And that's part of the culture too. That's part of the culture. The culture there is accepting this, and that's becoming part of the culture. That's part of the danger of having the wrong coach. You can create a culture at the school that's just, they accept failure. They get it. They get it. That's what we are. That's who we have to be. Because it takes time to build a program. You see, it doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't have to be this way. Things could be a lot better than this. It can all be so simple. If the fans were just like, we're not showing up, we're going to pick it outside of Scott Strickland's office, he would have his hands tied. At the very least, if he didn't submit to the will of the people, he would have submitted to the will of the energy in some way, and he would probably have to mess around and call a press conference instead of just putting out a little letter. A letter? Come on, man. It ain't even a letter you had to mail. It's a letter you just typed up and then took a picture of and you posted it online. Now we got the letter. It's the fans. It's the fans. If y'all decide y'all don't accept, well then he must accept. If the glove don't fit, they must acquit. So if he's doing something at the school that's not fitting with the vibe, let the man know. I'm doing a video because I don't live in Gainesville. What y'all want me to do? Y'all want me to fly out there? And that's the case. Y'all want me to fly out there, then I'm gonna need some help. I'm gonna need y'all to like, comment, subscribe. Hell, I might need to get a Patreon. I'm gonna have to get a Patreon. Y'all know I'm gonna have to get a Patreon. But if you like, comment, and subscribe, that'll at least help the algorithm a little bit, and then I'll be able to mess around and afford flying out to let Scott Strickland know. But I'm just me. It's just me. It's just me right now. I'm saying it's a bunch of y'all, but what's the stadium? 90,000? 90,000? So if 90,000 of y'all say, we are not accepting this, where are the fathers? Where are the Florida Gator fathers who are just like, no, I'm not going. We're not going to that game this week. To watch who? Warner? Lord have mercy. But I get it. I get it. You want something to do. I get that. I get that. Love that too. Love the fact that the stadium can still bring the energy that it has, because that is part of what I love too. So I get it. I get it. I love seeing the swamp feel like the swamp. I love that. So I love the fact that we're there to support. But damn it, we are making this what it is. We are part of what's to blame too. Can't just blame Billy Napier. We're going to have to take the blame. All of us, whoever you are out there that says you're a Gator fan, it's your fault too. I'm sorry, bruh. I'm sorry. I just got to keep it real. Danny Warfel, why you not at the school riot? So the presidential election, it's really interesting stuff, man. This was my first time tracking politics in such a way. I didn't expect myself to get into it like I did. I really got passionate about it this year, but I think me becoming a father, I won't even say I think, me becoming a father really had a lot to do with it. For the first time in my life, was able to afford myself health insurance, because I finally got a job as a performer. I kind of was foolishly, pridefully sitting out, just investing in private health insurance whenever I was maybe working, side hustling, what have you. But I wanted to get health insurance when I became an actor, when I was able to become a SAG actor. I started an S Corp. I had a business while I was working on the 2 shows. So it was my first year ever really dealing with finances in a way that was 6-figure. So I think this past year felt like the first time I felt maybe like I was an adult. It felt like the first time where I felt like I was him. I was a man, finally. But I still never focused on politics ever. I never really watched the news. I just felt like it was always maybe annoying propaganda. And now that I really paid attention to politics this year, it was so much propaganda. It was crazy. It was like I was watching reality TV. The pundits on the news are like actors, and they have it's like Curb Your Enthusiasm. They're not really using a script, more like an outline, and that's why some of the episodes get wild. I want to talk about why I think Donald Trump won, and I want to talk about why I think Kamala Harris won. First of all, I want to say congratulations to the 47th president, to Donald Trump. It was pretty interesting, amazing to watch. The process, really taking these candidates in and their campaigns in, and every single day tracking. I was never really paying attention to polling. I guess my own polling was basically studying different independent media outlets. A lot more content off of YouTube. Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson. I've watched some episodes of CNN. I've watched some episodes of Fox. Ben Shapiro. I used to watch The Breakfast Club a lot, but I wasn't able to digest The Breakfast Club at all. Really, this whole process, because there was just a lack of responsibility, maybe a lack of, and I think The Breakfast Club has a lot to do with Kamala Harris's campaign losing. The Breakfast Club, in my opinion, is a lesser version of Joe Rogan's show, and I don't think they made the most value of their platform. And I don't think Charlamagne made the most value of his platform. I don't think he did. I think he thinks he does. I think he tried to, but I don't feel like their approach was specific. Everybody just keeps telling you what to do or telling you why you should be doing something instead of actually telling you about what they're going to do. President Trump would come out and he would just constantly lay out new policies. Almost every 4 or 5 rallies, he had a new thing he was dishing out. It's like he just balanced it out, just like he balanced out the budget, balanced out his money. Heard that Kamala's campaign raised $1 billion. She raised over $900 million. Biden had over $190 million that came into her purse. $1 billion. And by the end of her campaign, she was $20 million in debt. And then I believe in October, she had like $118 million left. Spending like crazy, spending like crazy. Spending it on what? Sometimes you get into looking at people's activity and how active they are, but what are the results of your activity? Donald Trump seemed like he had been working on becoming president since 2020, the way he just became president. Based on the campaigns, I'm surprised the landslide wasn't bigger. I've also been listening to some Charlie Kirk, Bill O'Reilly, Stephen A. Smith, Will Cain show, comment section with Brett Cooper. I think like this, right? If Kamala Harris really wanted to win, I think it's almost unfair to ask Kamala Harris to win this campaign. I think she thought she was ready. I saw some old clips tonight of the 2020 presidential debate. No. The 2020 Democratic primary and the 2016 Democratic primary. 2016 was when Tulsi Gabbard came for Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris had a moment there where she said, I got to double check. It was either 2016 or 2020 when she said it. But she had a moment where she said something about how
what we need on the stage in November is someone who has the ability to win. And by that, we need someone on that stage who has the ability to go toe-to-toe with Donald Trump and someone who has the ability to rebuild the Obama coalition and bring the party and the nation together. I believe I am that candidate.
She understood that he was an opponent, a real opponent, an opponent that was going to be fierce, an opponent that's a name. Donald Trump is like a Leonardo DiCaprio. You put that name on the movie and it's like, oh. In this debate, she said she believes she's a person. She knows that the Democratic Party needs somebody. I'm doing the hand gestures. It's the Kamala Harris. And when we fight, we win. But she said she believes that she is the person. She believes the Democratic Party needs a person. And she's that person. And when the rivers flow. So let's get into talking about why I feel like she lost. I feel like she lost because I don't think she had specificity. I don't think she thought she was the person because I think she knows her skill set. She knows she can shoot threes, but she doesn't know about her lack of being able to create offense. Just because you can shoot threes doesn't mean you're just going to come down and shoot threes every time. You got to get open. Donald Trump can play defense. Donald Trump can play offense. Donald Trump can lose, even though he's a sore loser. He can lose. And I think he learns how to flip his losses and turn them into wins. Here's what I would do. First of all, Kamala Harris comes out and she essentially, it was a coup. The Democrats were trying to replace Joe Biden just based on when they set up the presidential debate. They've never done a presidential debate that early in history. And so they decide to do one now. And it's essentially, everybody knows where Biden's been. There's been too many interviews along the way from his 2020 time in office all the way through 2024. Everybody has been seeing it, but the Democratic Party, they roll with each other. One band, one sound. You see how they all operate. You see, in my opinion, they move like a cult. Both parties. And that's why people see the Trump agenda as a new coalition. They are low-key replacing Republican with MAGA, but it's still Republican. But I'm saying that because it's a new coalition. It's a new kind of energy. That's one thing I think Charlamagne doesn't necessarily understand, the way he talks about or has said things about. I think it just in his last Donkey of the Day, he said something about how a lot of people don't seem to understand that the Democratic Party, it tends to be the one that is better with the economy and this, that, and the third. But that just ain't been what it's been as of the past, more recent past, and energy shifts. Sometimes the AFC is winning championships, and then all of a sudden it'd be the NFC, just based on where this quarterback went to, or what teams is over here. Sometimes it just shifts. The wind come in the city sometimes, and then it'd be the summertime. Anyways, Kamala Harris, I understand she comes into this campaign after the coup and she can't really just tell people that I'm cooing Joe Biden, but we're not going to tell y'all about Joe Biden. She needs people to understand that it's me now. People understood clearly. People gave money in droves clearly. So people were okay with that. People accepted that. But she still needed to find a way to separate herself. And instead of her doing that, I think she's clearly a very loyal kind of person. Maybe too much to a T. And she kind of got to be, because Joe Biden puts her on and she becomes the first female vice president, which might low-key be the furthest she gets, just based on how she plays the game. I think she plays the game with a lot of structure, but Donald Trump comes in breaking the rules. And maybe she does get back in later, like Joe Biden. He got back in later on in his career, but I don't know if she ends up being the first female president. You got to learn how to play. You got to learn how to use your skills in every single way. You got to learn how sometimes you get to be on the offensive, sometimes you got to play defense and the strategy. So automatically she got to separate herself from Biden, but she doesn't try to. She knows she has to, but she doesn't try to. That was a clear sign to me that this is a coup, because I think it would just be obvious. The whole team, the whole Democratic Party would have just been in conversation and lock and step so that they can understand what they need to do to win. They're all about winning. Clearly, they're all about winning. But they didn't do that. I do think Biden's ego was in the way. I don't think he wants his name disparaged, talked about. I don't think he needs that as a part of his legacy, especially by his teammates. But where are the script writers? She's so plugged up with Hollywood, but she ain't contact nobody to write her a script to really help craft her story? Come on, man. Honestly, if it's me, if I'm on the team, it's easy. Listen, this is a new generation of leadership. You guys can't expect me to be like Joe Biden, and I don't think it's fair for y'all to say I should be like Joe Biden. I was his vice president, and I supported him as best as I could. That is what I made my job about. I supported him as his vice president, but I wasn't in the White House running the White House by no stretch of the means. Did he put me in charge of the border? Yes, he did. She can say what she wants to. She could flip it and call it root causes. We know what that was. Stop playing. But even when she got pressed at NBC by, I think his name was Lester Holt, even when she got pressed, you haven't been to the border. And I haven't been to Europe. What are you trying to say? What do you think this is? This is an opportunity to really play offense. She played defense. She played defense at a time where really she needed to be playing offense. Instead, she'll say something as simple as, I'm going to follow the law. What the fuck is that? What the fuck? What does that mean? What does that mean? Nobody feels like they know this woman. I don't feel like I know her. I'm just listening to her talking. I don't feel like I know what that means. And then Charlamagne will say something like, she answered the question. Charlamagne, you're trying to make people do this. You're bullying people. You're bullying people. People need to get there. People need to see it for themselves. People need to be able to be as passionate as you're being, because then it'll show up in the polls. Point blank period. And everybody's going to accept it, even if they don't. I see people rioting in Chicago right now because outside of Trump Tower. What that mean? That man not in that hotel. He in a different one. And even though y'all doing all that, y'all could be home doing something productive. Getting back to the story. So she doesn't separate herself from Joe Biden. People are saying that she hasn't had enough time on the campaign. I don't think that's fair to say. She's been in the White House for 4 years. I think at the end of the day, if you're trying to do something, you're going to start doing it like you're serious about it. You're going to do it before they pay you for it. You're going to do it because it's what you love doing, and then it's going to show up when you get the opportunity. That's how it always works. Guys who get college scholarships, they don't just get college scholarships out of nowhere. They have been playing football since Pop Warner. They got that scholarship because that's something that they've been doing and mastering. So she hasn't been doing speeches while she's been vice president? That's probably one of the main things. Maybe she was doing speeches, but she was always doing a different speech because she was doing a different speech that was written for her. But now she's going on these campaigns and rallies, but the speech stays the same. And then when Charlamagne asks her about it, she says, you're welcome. What the fuck is that? You playing defense? You punting? You're punting right now? You're welcome? No, that's information. That's information, La Mama. That's information that people are saying. You keep repeating the same thing. And you're talking to us, and you don't realize that that means you're kind of talking to people like they're dumb. I think personally that means that she thought she can just show up and just do this part of the job, not realizing it's going to take everything. It's going to take everything. You got to be aware of the zeitgeist. You got to be aware of the time where we are in life right now. She's so woke, but never woke up this whole campaign. Never woke up the whole campaign. You the queen of woke. Maybe you weren't woker or the wokest.
And you can talk about if you're the wokest or woker, but just stay more woke than less woke.
But what happened? Why was you sleep on the fact that you were supposed to do more, give more? She goes on the Call Me Daddy podcast. Podcast is extremely transparent and didn't say nothing different. It didn't really get to a place of like, wow, I know this woman. And maybe that's hard for a woman to do because as a woman, you kind of got to guard certain secrets close to the chest. Women go to the grave with a lot of people's secrets. That's real. That's real. It do be a lot of women whistleblowers. But for all the women whistleblowers, it be about 3 out of 10 women who just singing out the same song sheet. Biden put that out there. He let everybody know. And he let her know. We singing off the same song sheet now. Biden put that out there. He let everybody know. And he let her know. We singing off the same song sheet now. I catch you saying nothing. I catch you saying something different. You start singing a different tune. You know what that mean now. We ain't gonna be no duet no more. So, and then before she even got on these rallies and the campaigns, she didn't make use of her time. I think the Democrats thought, it's pretty clear that the Democrats thought that they're going to make use of the silence, the shadow campaign energy, the DNC energy, and not really pop back up because people are on a high. Nobody can tell me that's not what that was. Nobody can tell me that wasn't the PR move. It worked for about 2.5 weeks, but then it got weird because it was like, bruh, people trying to hire you for this job right now and you're not showing up. And I remember seeing her at that primary. She's talked about how people in the Democratic Party need essentially a star, somebody who can really face Donald Trump. And I get why it would be her. So she knew that they needed a star, but when she shows up, she keeps trying to play defense, not showing up for any rallies, for any interviews, not getting creative and starting to do stuff. That SNL thing she did, I thought it was actually pretty good. Maybe it's because Maya Rudolph really drove the whole scene and Kamala didn't have to be the star of it. But I thought that was good. That was the best thing I seen her do. I thought that could sway things because it was the best performance she had had. Even though, yes, Trump did something exactly like that. But again, that just goes to show that like her campaign was a little weird. I thought the commercial with the wife lying to the husband was a very bad move. Very, very bad move. You're splitting up families. If that's the message you're sending. You're telling people on stage that you want to be a president for everybody, but then you're essentially becoming, when Lyndon B. Johnson created the Great Society, when the Great Society energy was popping, that's what that ends up creating. That's what that gives off. And they tried to clean it up, having the bros do 1, 2. You already set the energy out there. It was women or bust. And then finally, you start hearing that you're not targeting men. And then you try to come out with a last minute target towards men. You miss the opportunity to hit up the barbershop first. Trump ends up doing the barbershop in New York first. Then you go and try to do 1, 2. Then you try to link up with Charlamagne, and you link up with Charlamagne, and y'all talk for an hour. It's time to get candid. It's time to find a way to get candid while being professional. And as much homework as she says she do, I would expect for them to be trying to really come up with that result. But instead, it's just a bunch of talk. You link up with Charlamagne and you talk about the same things. And then I got a problem with Charlamagne and Breakfast Club. I think they had a lot to do with the loss. They didn't take advantage of their platform. Everybody really just came out here out of nowhere and just started to create hate, leaving bad taste in people's mouths and just talking disparagingly about a man who is an American, a man who has a family, a man who has just been through 2 assassination attempts, a man who has been beloved in this country, has been accused of some pretty bad things, but nobody's proven him guilty on any of them, and a man who was the former president of the United States. I understand. I get it. Whoa. Stop. I don't like the way you're looking at me. I don't like the way you're thinking about me right now. I understand that he got very divisive type language. I get it. I get that he is a pit bull. I get it. But that doesn't mean that everybody needed to start playing his game. That doesn't mean that everybody had to start playing his game. That doesn't mean that everybody had to start saying Donald Trump is a fascist. He is Hitler. You know how ridiculous that sounds? The man was already the president. And yeah, he rough around the edges, but he was already the president. So just the fact that even Charlamagne started spewing that shit is like wild. The fact that I was about to say Stephen A. Smith. The fact that Barack Obama, everything the Democrats started to do was starting to get really, I don't want to say anxious, really, really angry, really pushy, really bully. Michelle Obama? Oh my God. Everybody on the Democratic side started feeling like that uncle or auntie that just will guilt trip you all the way, face flat on the floor, guilt tripping type of energy. Like I've never been so disappointed in the messaging. I've never been so discouraged in what was supposed to be a campaign of alleged joy. I've never been so challenged to understand what is so good about being a Democrat. My mother raised me to believe I was a Democrat growing up. And just based on how this election really played out, I can't say I'm a Democrat. I can't do that. I don't like how Barack spoke about black men towards black men. I don't think he set a good example of a man. I started to see him. He was recruiting. He was out there stumping hard after this. After they said she didn't have no man energy. Oh, you saw Barack, you saw Clinton, and then she's in the rally and people are booing her, which was wild. But then maybe she didn't even hear what the person said when they said Jesus is Lord. But then she says, I think you're in the wrong rally, because Kamala Harris could be fresh. I think that's who she is, and that's the type of person she tried to hide. But then I think after she said that, she probably got in trouble, and the brainstorming team was probably just like, oh man, we fucked up.
But joy cometh in the morning.
Bad. This is gonna be hard to come back from. This is religion. You're already pushing abortion really hard, which doesn't really flow well with religion, and goes against, one of our constitutional rights, which is the right to practice religion, our own religion, and so, pushing Catholic people that's something that they might have to do in their own hospitals and not having any concessions is rough around your edges, your hedges, it was giving dictator energy on the low, quiet. Don't want to tell you. Kamala didn't look like she had fun during this campaign. She laughed a lot, but I think her laughing is part of her defense mechanism, and I think it's kind of how she diffuses where she's not comfortable enough to just talk about it, comfortable enough to break down her thoughts. Instead, it gets to this thing where it's like, I know I'm about to say something, so let me get my mind right. Her campaign was bad. Her campaign was very bad. All the while, Donald Trump was having fun. He was having fun and he was being serious. And in the midst of his seriousness, he still had fun. He still found a way to relate with a lot of people like a human being. I don't like how Charlamagne, let me get back to the Breakfast Club, I feel like Charlamagne's got this platform, man, and he doesn't really use his platform for good. He uses it for himself. He uses it just to say what he wants. He doesn't use it to tap into people's hearts. They have a lot of great conversations at the Breakfast Club, and whenever they have somebody that just really inspires me, I want to listen. But that has become about once every 2-3 months, because sometimes I can't stand to listen to Charlamagne, and especially during this election cycle, I might get back to listening to the Breakfast Club a little bit more often after this election cycle. But it just got to a place where his messaging was toxic because his messaging wasn't bipartisan. It didn't offer me any information instead of the thing that he wanted to say, which felt a lot like the Democratic Party. They weren't having a lot of real conversations. All the while, you had people like Charlie Kirk, who was going on tours at different college universities and talking to young voters and talking to them about the Democratic Party and the Republican Party and the Biden and Harris administration and what a Trump-Vance administration would look like, and dispelling a lot of things that Democrats are saying is misinformation and talking about them a bit more than just calling them misinformation. I paid attention to MSNBC, CNN, ABC, CBS. I clocked in everything, everywhere. I was listening to everything. I wanted to see what was what. Why is this that? Dave Rubin. I'm listening to everything, making my own evaluation, which is what I would expect Barack to give people the respect enough that they're doing that. And if you're going to go out and talk to people like the Breakfast Club could have done, another thing that I think the Kamala Harris campaign really effed up on. The Breakfast Club could have been their headquarters. Every single one of their episodes, they could have and should have been talking about a new policy in the Democratic agenda. Every single episode. But instead, it's just telling people why they should vote for Kamala Harris. That's a negative energy, guilt-tripping energy. And then the more they're hearing about the agenda, they become part of Donald Trump's messaging.
Hell no, I don't want my taxpayer dollars going to that.
Kamala supports transgender sex changes in jail with our money.
Instead of Envy and Charlamagne talking about the policies, breaking them down for themselves, yes, but then also breaking them down for the audience. This is how I know that they're not even really focused on the policies that hard. Why y'all didn't know? Y'all the biggest Kamala Harris fans out here. Why y'all didn't know? How y'all didn't know? What you mean you didn't know? You telling everybody to vote for her? What you mean you didn't know? And how you still know that, but then you still push that constantly? Charlamagne should know better. I would expect that he would, but I think he got lost in the sauce. Lost in the sauce of what's woke. Because he ended up just kind of pushing for this narrative of why it should be her. Never talking about the policies. It clearly became a situation where I just don't understand the campaigning. She's an AKA. I couldn't imagine no Delta running for office and they run a campaign, and then the Delta candidate runs a campaign like that. I couldn't imagine that. I would expect that every Delta sorority at every single college would have been on. They would have had a whole movement at every single college talking to college students. She an AKA, she ain't tap in. Did she tap in there and use that market? I doubt she would have really went out of, that would have been the ground game right there. That would have challenged the Charlie Kirk ground game. But it was just crazy to me, and it was showing proof that every single one of the networks that were talking about what's the fastest way to get to 270, whenever they start those graphs, they always show it, and the Democratic candidate kind of always starts off with 220 electoral votes, and the Republican candidate always starts off with like 215. And so they battling it out at these swing states and some of these purple states to try to see how they can get to 270. And at the end of this election, Kamala Harris's score was still at about 225. So she ain't really gained nothing new. She got what was expected. And even in what was expected, all of the numbers were below what Joseph Biden did. So it leads me to believe that when they decided to start this coup, they didn't start it off with the right type of energy. They didn't have any real collaboration with the prior team. Yeah, Joe Biden really, he crashed out in that. He crashed out. That wasn't a good look, man. Democrats everywhere, they should be honest. I would like it if they were honest. I would like that. I would respect that. I could respect the conversation, but it ain't even no conversation with no Democrat right now, because a lot of Democrats is just like, it should have been us. It should have been Kamala. It should have been Kamala. And it's just crazy because it just makes it too hard to talk to anybody about the seriousness of what was actually put on display on a daily basis. And it's crazy because she used everybody's money to do that. $20 million in debt. And I started seeing ads a couple weeks ago. My wife showed me an ad where they over here asking for money during the campaign because they done ran out of money. Why Donald Trump and them they ain't run out of money? You know what kind of sign that is? That you running your campaign and you running out of money and you want to become the president, where you gonna take everybody money and flip it, and then what you gonna do? Flip it and give it to Ukraine, and then you just gonna be right back to let's raise the state taxes. What's wrong with y'all? What's wrong with y'all? I believe that there needs to be some revising in the government, and I think a lot of people believe that too. I think a lot of people in the government need to get fired because they don't look like they doing much. Random departments, building up fat, excess weight. All the while, they cutting jobs out here left and right, but the government, they just adding different departments. And for what? Trim the fat. Back to the topic at hand. Kamala Harris had 4 years to prepare for this. I think she should have prepared for this like she was going to be president one day. I think she knew her story. I think she knew her story was a banger. So she knew that her story would absolutely bring the energy, and it did. But you got to keep the energy going. Donald Trump has some new thing popping off every single week, like I said. If it wasn't something that he said in one of his speeches in the campaign, like no tax on tips or no tax on overtime or no tax on Social Security, then it was something like, okay, I'm going to McDonald's. Get me a garbage truck. I'm going to a football game. I'm going to do a podcast here, 3-hour podcast here today, and then I'm going to go to a rally later. Visibility. And every single one of these rallies, he keeps saying something different. I learned a lot of different things listening to this man who's been around for a long time, succeeding and failing in the open market, like all of us, like I did this past year. Hard to relate to this woman who's been in office all this time, and she has a story, an interesting story. A story with red on it, a story with some good green stuff on it. It's marked up with some A's. Oh, it's got some D's and some F's on there too. But you know your GPA end up being 3.2 and nobody don't ask you about that 0.8 that you don't have. I think that Kamala Harris's campaign dropped the ball. The Democratic Party's campaign dropped the ball. I think that I want to say that they could have done better, but they didn't do better. So I don't know that I could say they could have done better because they did what they could do. And they came up short in every single way possible. They came up short when it was time for Kamala Harris to have the right answers or the improvisation on the field of battle where she might have needed to verbalize a nice swim move with her words or a nice, she played a lot of defense. I will not tell you who I voted for. No, I've been to the border. So when I see that they lost, I think it's important that they lost because I think the Democratic Party needs to reimagine themselves. I think they absolutely need a remix. They need to swap out their policies. They need to swap out their approach. They need to come at this a lot more honest, more open, more transparent. There was no transparency. Oftentimes she would just say stuff like, I'm going to follow the law. What the fuck is that? What does that mean? You make the law. Say it right now. Talk about it right now. You got time. Joe Rogan invites you on and you say he got to fly to you and you're only going to give him 45 minutes. Is that because you ran out of money? Or is that because you don't really want to go as in-depth as a 3-hour podcast would? Because you had enough money to turn the plane around and go to SNL. Time and time again, she dropped the ball, dropped opportunities, really missed the moment, really missed the mark. I think she should have done stuff like, filming a lot more just personal conversations, maybe even trying vlogs. Maybe even a vlog might have been hard. Behind the scenes of the campaign talking or behind the scenes of you at the rally. There was none of that. It was just a lot of booking celebrities and bringing them in. And people are sitting here talking about it's all about the Diddy stuff. And it feels like it might be. Light just went out. It's fine. I think that's time for me to wrap. Look, the Democratic Party lost because the light went out on how they approached this process. They had a star. She even said in that 2020 primary that they felt like they needed somebody to reinvigorate, reestablish the Obama coalition or something like that she said. It was too much reimagining of something of old, all while trying to slip in these new things, but not understanding the zeitgeist, the current time that we're living in. People need the truth. People need honesty. People need transparency. People need the vulnerability. People need you to step out there and really have the conversation and stop doing all that damn giggling and laughing and cackling and just get to talking and really saying the thing, because you're not. And everybody who said that she was, you lying for her. You lying too. Or you lying to yourself because you just don't want the information, don't need the information because you're good enough with the story on the outside. You're good enough with what the packaging looks like. You're good enough just looking at the cover of this book and not even going deep diving and reading the book and looking at the pages and seeing that some of these pages is missing information. Some of these pages just got pictures of what they want the image to be, but they ain't got nothing under the picture. And some of y'all just acting like that ain't the case. And that's crazy. And it make the process even more crazy. And then you add bullying to the process and it's like, okay, we don't got to talk about this. We don't got to talk about this. We don't got to talk about this because you're just going to be mad at me. No, don't do that. No. That's why they say don't talk about politics in the workplace. But all right, y'all, look, really didn't expect to be rapping about this. The rant get going, then, you just get to falling. You get to falling like I'm playing for the Warriors. Balling, shot calling. All right, y'all.